Today, we are doing a deep dive into, well, a really fascinating set of sources. They all kind of circle around this central idea.
Hmm.
If you get this incredible priceless invitation, what could possibly make you say no?
Right. And maybe even more importantly, if you do say yes, what happens next? How does that change how you're supposed to live?
Exactly. We've got quite a stack here: Gospels, Psalms, Paul's letters. It's not just, a single command. It feels more like a whole blueprint for living together, for community.
That's a great way to put it. Our mission really is to unpack that connection between divine grace, the invitation, and the practical, everyday response needed from people. We'll be looking at unity, gifts, humility, themes like that.
It sounds like we're going from the big theological picture right down to the nitty-gritty.
Pretty much. We'll see how let's say, the anger in the parable of the great dinner connects, maybe surprisingly, to the idea of a quiet, peaceful soul you find in the Psalms.
Okay, let's get into it then. The main anchor for all of this is that parable in Luke 14. The scene's already set. Someone actually says out loud, "Blessed is the one who will dine in the kingdom of God."
hmm And Jesus' response is immediate. He doesn't debate it. He tells this story.
Ah.
A man throws a huge feast, invites a bunch of people, and when it's finally ready, all the effort, the generosity, he sends his servant out.
And the message is simple. Come, everything is now ready.
And notice the timing there. It's not like RSVP for next month. It's immediate. The time is now. Everything's prepared.
Which makes the excuses that come next feel, well, even stranger.
They really are. Because like you said earlier, these aren't major crises. They're not life or death. They're about stuff.
Yeah, stuff and commitments, but commitments focused inward on the self, on possessions.
Let's break them down. There are three specific ones, and they tell a story themselves. First guy says, I've just bought a field. I have to go check it out.
Okay, so that's property, maybe status, a bit of business.
Then the second one doubles down on the business angle. I've purchased 5 yoke of oxen, and I'm literally on my way right now to evaluate them.
So productivity, investment, wealth creation, making sure the assets are good.
And the third one shifts slightly.
Right. The third one says, I just got married, so I can't come. Family obligation.
And if you look at those three together,
Yeah.
what do you see?
It's like everything that usually occupies our time and energy, wealth, work, even our closest relationships.
Exactly. They can become the very things that make us turn down this immediate, crucial invitation to connection, to communion. It's prioritizing the temporary, the worldly stuff over something much bigger.
Okay, but hang on. Let me push back a little here. Buying a field, buying 5 yoke of oxen, those are big deals financially, right? Isn't it just being responsible to check on your investment?
That's a fair question.
So why does the master get so angry? The text says he responds in a rage that feels intense.
It does. But I think the rage isn't just about the no. It's about the reason for the no. It's the dishonor.
Dishonor. How so?
Well, think about it. Can examining a field wait a few hours? Can evaluating oxen wait until tomorrow morning? Almost certainly yes.
Okay, yeah.
So by saying, I have to do this now, they're essentially saying, my routine business, my property management is more important than your prepared feast, your generosity, your honor. It makes the host's invitation seem trivial.
So the field and the oxen are like symbols?
Symbols of the burdens we carry, maybe even the burdens we choose, the things we convince ourselves we must deal with this very second.
Yeah.
And maybe those are the very things keeping us from accepting rest or connection.
That changes the perspective quite a bit, and this is where the story takes that really sharp turn, isn't it, once the original guests make their excuses?
Yes. The master doesn't just, call off the party. He does the opposite. He throws the doors wide open, but to a completely different crowd.
He tells the servant, quick, go out into the streets and alleys.
And who should he bring back?
The poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Basically, everyone in society at the time overlooked or excluded.
The very people who didn't have fields and oxen to worry about. People who would likely be stunned and overjoyed by such an invitation. They wouldn't dream of slighting the host.
Makes sense. But then, even after they fill the hall with these new guests, there's still room.
Still room. The servant reports back, Sir, we did what you said, but there's still space.
Which leads to that final, almost forceful command.
Right. Go out to the highways and hedgerows, so even further out beyond the city limits, and make people come in so my house may be filled. It's this sense of boundless welcome, but only after the initial rejection.
And that last line is chilling, for I tell you, none of those men who were invited will taste my dinner.
Absolute judgment. The door is closed to them.
Wow. Okay, so this whole dynamic, the stressed out people making excuses, being replaced by the marginalized who are welcomed in it, connects really well with another piece of source material we have from Matthew, right?
It does, perfectly. That verse, Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest."
It's such a direct contrast. The burden of the field, the burden of the oxen, the self-imposed labor versus the promise of rest.
Exactly. Accepting the invitation in this light is fundamentally choosing rest. It's choosing to set down those weights, the things you think you need to carry.
Okay, so the invitation is clear. The consequences of refusal are stark. But what about after? Once you're in the banquet hall, so to speak, once you've accepted the grace, how are you supposed to act?
Now we shift gears a bit. We move to Romans 12. And this passage is incredibly practical. It's like the community handbook that follows the invitation.
And Paul doesn't waste any time, does he? He jumps right into the implications.
No, straight away. The core idea isn't just individual feeling, it's about the group. He says, we, though many, are one body in Christ and individually parts of one another.
So accepting the invitation automatically makes you part of something larger. No lone wolves at this dinner party.
Precisely. You can't accept the grace and then, go sit in a corner by yourself. The whole point is the shared experience, the interconnectedness.
And that community focus is the foundation for everything else he talks about, like the spiritual gifts.
Right. He lists several gifts: prophecy, ministry, teaching, exhorting, contributing, leading, acts of mercy. But the emphasis isn't just having the gift.
It's how you use it.
Yes. The attitude is key.
Yeah.
If you prophesy, do it in proportion to the faith, grounded, measured.
Yeah.
If you have the gift of contributing, do it with generosity if you lead.
With diligence. That sounds like hard work, being attentive, not just basking in the title.
Exactly. It's the opposite of the pride or self-importance that you could argue maybe tripped up those original invitees in the parable.
That connection makes sense. What about acts of mercy? You mentioned attitude there too.
Yeah, this one's fascinating. He says, perform acts of mercy with cheerfulness.
Why cheerfully? Isn't it enough just to, help someone out even if you're grumbling a bit inside?
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Maybe because doing it grudgingly makes it about your sacrifice, your burden. Doing it cheerfully keeps the focus on the other person, on the joy of community, the shared life. It flips the script from the parable refusers who clearly saw the invitation itself as a burden, not a joyful gift.
Okay, that adds another layer. So beyond these specific roles or gifts, Romans 12 also gets into just day-to-day living together.
Oh yeah, it becomes intensely practical. Real rubber meets the road stuff for community life.
Like what?
It starts with basics. Let love be sincere, hold on to what is good. But then it gets more demanding. Things like anticipate one another in showing honor.
Wait, anticipate, like try to beat the other person to honoring them?
Kind of. It suggests actively looking for opportunities to uplift others, rather than waiting to be honored yourself. It's a complete reversal of a competitive mindset.
That sounds challenging, especially today. We're often focused on getting ahead ourselves.
It requires real humility, doesn't it? A deliberate outward focus. And the list goes on. Rejoice in hope, endure in affliction, persevere in prayer. These are about resilience, sticking together through tough times.
And hospitality comes up again. Contribute to the needs of the holy ones, exercise hospitality. It echoes the open door of the parable's host.
Yes, it does. And then there's the really tough one about dealing with conflict or opposition.
Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. That feels almost superhuman.
It's incredibly difficult. But notice what comes right after that.
Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep.
See the connection. The community needs to be strong against outside pressure. Bless those who persecute. But incredibly sensitive and empathetic internally, feeling each other's joys and sorrows. It paints a picture of a deeply bonded group.
But then Paul brings it back right at the end of that section to something that links directly to the parable's beginning.
He does. He says, do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly.
Which is the absolute opposite of the attitude that got the first group of guests disinvited. They were too important, too busy with their own high concerns.
Exactly. So Romans 12 gives us the how-to for community life after accepting the invitation, and it hinges on rejecting pride and embracing humility, embracing the lowly.
And that idea of associating with the lowly, that humility isn't just an action, is it? It requires a certain inner state.
That's where Psalm 131 comes in so beautifully. It's like the inner soundtrack for the person living out Romans 12.
It paints a picture of quietness, Stillness.
Deep internal peace. The speaker explicitly rejects pride and ambition. O Lord, my heart is not proud, nor are my eyes haughty. I busy not myself with great things, nor with things too sublime for me.
They're actively choosing not to chase after the big, important stuff, the stuff that maybe the man buying the oxen or the field thought was paramount.
Precisely. They're letting go of that striving, that busyness of the mind.
And the image used to capture that piece is just stunning, isn't it?
It really is. The soul is stilled and quieted, like a weaned child on its mother's lap.
A weaned child. Tell me more about that image. What's significant there?
Well, think about a baby. Before weaning, often fussy, demanding immediate satisfaction, focused on urgent needs. A weaned child, resting on its mother's lap, is different.
How so?
They're past that stage of urgent need. They find comfort and peace simply in the presence, in the relationship, not in constant consumption or demand. They are content, resting, not striving.
So it's a picture of contentment, of letting go of those driving needs.
Exactly. It's the opposite of the anxiety driving the people with the excuses. It's the psychological state required to truly live in that grace-filled community.
And the result is stated clearly in the psalm, "In you, O Lord, I have found my peace."
Right. So if you connect the dots, the outward actions of Romans 12, the diligent leadership, the cheerful mercy, the mutual honor, associating with the lowly, they seem to depend on cultivating this inner state of humility and peace from Psalm 131.
You can't really do the outer stuff authentically if your inner self is still caught up in pride and striving for great things.
It seems unlikely. The sources suggest the field and the oxen represent that internal noise, that self-imposed stress that makes us deaf to the invitation or makes us feel burdened by it.
And the paradox is, accepting the invitation, letting go of those important things, is actually the path to rest.
That seems to be the core message. The price of admission to the feast, the price of rest, is releasing your grip on the very things you thought were essential for your status or security.
Wow. Okay, so we've traced quite a path here. We started with the shock of that rejected invitation in Luke's parable.
Move through the detailed instructions for community life in Romans 12, how to actually live together once you've accepted.
And ended up with the deep internal humility and quiet peace described in Psalm 131, which seems to be the necessary foundation for it all.
We've really seen that stark contrast, the anxiety and burden of the excuses versus the deep rest and peace promised to those who accept and then live differently.
It's clear the source material isn't just about a one-time yes. It's about a whole transformed life.
Absolutely. Grace demands a response. Not just belief, but action, community, humility. It's about letting go of the idea that our own efforts, our own possessions, whether literal fields or metaphorical status symbols, are what bring fulfillment.
So perhaps the final thought for you, our listener, comes from pulling all this together. It's not just about whether you'd say yes to the dinner invitation.
Right. It's more about, does the way you live after saying yes, your actions in community, your relationships, as Paul describes them, reflect that inner quietness, that peace of the weaned child from Psalm 131?
Or are you still, perhaps subtly, letting the oxen in your life, those urgent tasks, those anxieties, those things you feel you must evaluate right now, keep you from experiencing that deeper rest and true communion? What needs tending right now, and what could actually wait?